Have you ever had anxiety and thought, oh, this is great. I'm so glad I have anxiety. What a gift. Yeah, probably not. Not many people welcome anxiety. In fact, sometimes people are so adverse to anxiety that they try to turn it into anger or being busy. They'll do anything but feel that anxiety. Now, before we get into discussing 3 of the secret ways that anxiety really helps us, I want to tell you about How to Heal Financial Anxiety, which is my new book, Rewrite Your Money Story and Your Life. There's over 60 neuroscience-based activities in it. You can find it on Amazon or on my website, thefinancetherapist.com. Anyway, let's talk about anxiety. So now I used to have debilitating anxiety. I was in the hospital with a 180 resting heart rate. I found that regular talk therapy just didn't work for me. I felt that dwelling on my anxiety sometimes made it worse, and I felt that no one really understood me. I was having some physical issues due to anxiety, like stomach aches and things like that, and I didn't at the time realize it was anxiety, but now I do. It's very common to have headaches or digestive upset when you have anxiety. Anyway, anxiety is miserable, right? It just makes you feel horrible, and it just overall, it just is debilitating. There's no other way to say it, right? It's debilitating. Sometimes it just kind of comes on gently and you think like, oh, I had an anxiety attack. And you feel that it's few and far between that you're going to experience that. But what often happens is it snowballs. There's like a domino effect to it. Now, for me, hypnotherapy was something that really worked. I am a hypnotherapist, and I welcome you to come onto my site, ask me any questions, and we can connect. But let's just talk more about where anxiety helps us. Now, anxiety is a messenger of the subconscious, basically. A lot of times we don't know where it comes from. I've talked to so many people, and I've experienced it myself, where I'm bebopping through my day, everything feels really good. I go to lay down at night and boom, the anxiety would hit. That's what a lot of people say. It's in those quiet moments where they all of a sudden feel antsy or have physical reactions like flutters and tachycardia and so forth. So not everyone immediately feels the benefits of anxiety, but most people eventually see that their anxiety is beneficial in some way. So if you take the time to learn how it can help you, when you experience it, you can start to talk yourself down into a place of clarity and calm. And usually it's not so bad. So first understand, anxiety gets a really bad reputation, and there are fringe benefits to it. It doesn't feel like it in the moment, but there are. And I'm just going to list 3 of them for you right now. So I want us to have a conversation about these 3 different areas. So number 1, anxiety shows us what we yearn for. It gives us clarity that we might not otherwise realize. So you might have anxiety because you feel maybe unloved or unheard, but that means that you crave love or maybe attentiveness. And without that anxiety, you might be a little bit numb or accepting something that you really don't deserve. You deserve better in life. You deserve to be respected and loved and so forth. But it doesn't happen that way. And sometimes you need the anxiety to kind of wake you up. The anxiety is showing you that you deserve more in life. And so this is what I mean by anxiety shows us what we yearn for. If you're feeling really unloved in your relationship, over time, if you're not getting what you need, you're going to start to feel like anxious or depressed. And depression, if it's going on for a certain amount of time, whatever that time is for you, because it's different for everyone, it can start to go in the other direction and turn into anxiety. In fact, many people with anxiety have depression and anxiety. So when you recognize that, it can start to give you clarity. Now, another area is it teaches us to let go of control. This is such a biggie. I bet that sometimes your anxiety is one of the only times that you feel like you're not in control, right? Am I right? Because it's interesting that in both psychology and even in Buddhism, the act of welcoming your anxiety and stress is actually a part of the healing process. I've seen a million times in talk therapy where someone has relayed to me or I've experienced that we have to talk about the murky waters of what we've been through, and that can create some anxiety. Our breathing might be different. The way we carry ourselves might be different. The way our hands might start to ring or tap, or we go into some coping strategies, even in a therapy session, because we're becoming uncomfortable. So anxiety is there reminding us that we're not in control and we're having a hard time with that. But once you start to feel comfortable in that anxiety, you start to welcome the feeling of letting go. And sometimes anxiety teaches us to let go of control because we've learned to hyper control so often because that's the way that we felt safe. And so anxiety is teaching us something sometimes that we didn't even recognize was a problem. It also, and this is the third and last area that I want to talk about just today, is it forces us to listen to our bodies. Earlier I talked about tachycardia, heart flutters. When we finally pay attention to why we're getting the headache, why we're getting the stomach ache, why we're feeling achy, tight shoulders, we might finally pay attention and slow down. Because if we don't slow down and pay attention to what's emotionally happening to us or our situation, the anxiety might do it for us. And it might surface as a somatic experience, a body-mind experience. And when we physically can't easily go on, we take a rest finally. And that rest is something that forces us to turn inward. We sit down, we rest, and we start to think a little bit more. We focus on what will help us to release that headache or the tight muscles. We might have to focus on some self-care. We allow ourselves to get a little selfish in that moment because sometimes we're focusing so much externally, and anxiety is saying, wait a minute, what about you? And sometimes those physical ailments are a reminder that we need to think about ourselves. Now, of course, in all of this, you have to go to your physician, seek out your therapist, really dive into what might be happening physically or physiologically. But also remember that anxiety surfaces to give us a message. And it's only when we ignore the message constantly that sometimes the anxiety returns. So if we keep returning the favor of ignoring the anxiety, it's going to come back twofold. Welcoming anxiety actually can even sometimes dissipate the anxiety totally. So if you're interested and you want to do a little self-care, go to my website, thefinancetherapist.com, and I want you to go ahead and go at the top, or go really anywhere that you can sign up. You're going to sign up to the Muddy Lotus, but what that's going to do, that's my newsletter, by the way. What that's going to do is it's going to give you my 3-day virtual immersion that's all about self-healing, self-love, and reducing your anxiety. It's also going to give you the first chapter of my book, How to Heal Financial Anxiety. And in that, you're going to have 3 days of focusing on your own terms, on your own schedule, on some self-care. And hopefully that will help you to not only welcome some of the anxiety and get in touch with your inner truth, but also help calm you and let you see that you are worth so much more than that anxiety that you are experiencing. Okay, I will talk to you soon.